Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is a topic I actually thought I covered earlier because it's a story from November that was just reignited into my mind with yesterday's Supreme Court judgment where a woman's a woman and a man's a man. And it's an incredible story about a young girl at 17 who is suspected to be autistic, got a 6-game ban for asking a man with a beard who said he was a transgender woman if he was a man. It's incredible what's happened here. So this girl plays in an all-girls team, in an all-girls league, but there is a LGBTQ plus friendly team that they play against, and she played against a man with a beard. And she asked, "Are you a man?" And the case went to her local FA, who then put it up the line to this super hearing, where she gets a 6-match ban. And I find that incredible. I find it incredibly stupid that the governing body would react in such a way. Now, this did happen in November. What I would love to know is, after the hearing in the Supreme Court yesterday, the judgment, from the Supreme Court yesterday, what would be the outcome if this was to happen again? I'll tell you what the outcome should be. The FA should be taking on board the Supreme Court judgment, where a woman is somebody who was born a woman, not someone who identifies as a woman, and ban men from playing in women's teams against women in women's leagues. Because it's crazy. What I would like to know statistically is how many transgender men, that's women who present as men, play in the men's leagues. Because there is, believe it or not, and I found this was something that came about, some information that was shown by yesterday's judgment, that there is an equal number of transgender women as there is transgender men. But all we seem to hear about, particularly in sport, is the ones who were born male taking part in female sports. But if the numbers are the same, there's an even split between those who switch sexes either way, then why do we never hear about a woman being born a man, a woman being born a woman, presenting as a man, demanding to play men's football? We don't. The reason being, it only works in their advantage one way. So this story, I found it incredible at the time, and it was November, and I think at that time I was just starting to become ill without knowing it, and I obviously missed this. Not missed the story, but missed making the video. So the Telegraph ran with the story, and the headline, "Girl with suspected autism banned for asking transgender opponent, are you a man?" 17-year-old who denied being transphobic wept during proceedings. A female footballer with suspected autism has been hit with a 6-match ban after asking a bearded transgender opponent, "Are you a man?" The 17-year-old cried as she was found guilty of discrimination by a national serious case panel over remarks made during the match against a trans-inclusive club. As previously detailed in the Telegraph Sport, the latest case has caused outrage over the FA's policy of allowing those born male to play in the women's game. Saw the young woman charged by her county FA with saying, "Are you a man? That's a man. Don't come here again," or similar comments. Following a 3-hour hearing last week in which she denied having been transphobic, at what was a pre-season friendly back in July, she was banned for 6 matches, 4 of which were suspended. This case was heard and found proven by a national serious case panel, and the individual has been suspended for 6 matches, with 2 to be served immediately and 4 suspended for 12 months, said the FA in a statement. The panel is understood to have found the young woman repeatedly asked whether the alleged victim was a man, after she had already been informed the opponent was transgender. The young woman, who wept as she was grilled for around 30 minutes during the proceedings conducted via video conference, had been facing a ban of up to 12 games. The hearing was branded farcical by one of those present on the call, who said the alleged victim was repeatedly misgendered as he by panel members. While the girl was also said to have been asked, how many LGBT plus players do you have in your team? Isn't that mental? So somebody on the panel at this hearing called this transgender person he, which is probably more offensive than saying, are you a man? Because at least you're kind of asking there. What the board have done is they've said he. So he. You've asked is he a man? You get banned for 6 games. Absolutely crazy. And how many LGBTQ plus players do you have in your team? How would you know? Unless you walked about asking everybody their sexuality. Hello there. Are you a lesbian? Hello there. Are you gay? Hello there. Right? People don't normally go about their business that way. Tell you what you do get though, you get some people who are in these minorities want to shout it for the heaven tops. Want to have pride marches in city centres all over the world to say, I'm gay, or I'm bi, or I'm trans. You don't have people walking around the street going, I'm heterosexual. Right? So normal people don't ask these questions. You might have an inclination, but it's not, excuse me, do you kiss men or women? Right? It's not really what we do. Her parents were outraged both by the hearing and the outcome, with her mother telling Telegraph Sport, we've always taught our daughter to ask questions, and if she doesn't feel comfortable or she doesn't feel safe, then she should go to somebody in charge and ask the question. In safeguarding training at places of work, you're always told that you should question everything, but she's been told and effectively sanctioned by the FA for doing so. She asked, are you a man? And she admitted to that. The FA is essentially saying that no woman, when faced with what appears to be a male on the pitch, is entitled to ask that question. The banned player's plight had previously been cited by former FA chairman Lord Triesman, who wrote to the government body's current chair and chief executives last month to complain about its trans policy. The FA has continued to permit players born male to compete in female-only events, despite being urged in May by the then Culture Secretary, Lucy Fraser, to adopt an unambiguous position of a ban. Shona McEnena, did I say that right? McEnena, I think so. Director of campaign Sex Matters told the Telegraph the FA has declared open season on women and girls in football with its disastrous policy, which means that no one can question a male player participating in the women's game. Well, that's right. I mean, imagine if a referee, let's just say we make this thing a rule and a man turns up saying he's a trans woman to play in a game. Can a referee ask, hello there, are you a man? Because if they can't, then what's the point, right? What is the actual point of having a rule that referees couldn't even uphold? Because if somebody turns up with a beard, walks on and goes, how dare you ask me if I'm a man? Right? It's bonkers. The world's gone crazy. Where did we get to? Anyone who does find themselves suspended for just asking, disciplining women and girls for saying what they see plainly in front of them makes a mockery of the game. The FA's new strategy for women and girls football is worthless as long as this transgender inclusion policy is in place. How can the FA talk about a commitment to true equality in community football while undermining the rights and safety of the very players it claims to be supporting? Cat off. Good point. Well presented. The 17-year-old was charged after the opposition club lodged a complaint via Kick It Out, which is English football's anti-discrimination watchdog, which included testimony from the trans player and the team's captain, accusing her of persistent transphobia. Her identity has been concealed by Telegraph Sport as she is a child and on an assessment pathway for autism. In a written statement submitted in defence, she admitted asking a player she described as having a beard, are you a man? The beard bit's brilliant, isn't it? She also admitted asking the referee for guidance about the player's eligibility to play in women's football. Staying up to date with events around the world can be difficult, where it's impossible to consult a single source for the full story. Narratives that shape public opinion often just reinforce media and corporate-backed vested interests. It's hard to know what information to trust. See what the media is exaggerating, sensationalising, over or under reporting. That's why I've been using Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. For every news source, you can see if it has any political bias, how reliable the reporting is, and who owns them. They even have a blind spot feed that highlights news disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. Take a data-driven view on the news and stay current. Get news from thousands of sources worldwide in one place. I've been using Ground News to help me get all the world's news in one place and give a more balanced opinion on what we read and viewing who is telling us the truth and who isn't. Subscribe via my link to get 40% off the Vantage subscription. It's the one I use to get unlimited access to every feature. Your subscription can not only help my channel, but also help Ground News, as it makes the media landscape more transparent. I think that's dead clever. Of course, surely you can ask a referee, is that guy's boot safe because he's got spikes on? Things like that. Where did we get to? She admitted asking the referee for guidance about the player's eligibility to participate in women's football, given my concerns for my safety after already suffering a number of overly physical challenges. But she repeatedly denied that doing so constituted transphobia, while the Telegraph understands the referee also heard nothing he deemed to be discriminatory. Well, obviously, or he would have sent her off. She said in a written statement she had become confused about the participation of the trans player during the match in question, as the latter wore jewellery and sunglasses and was not in opposition kit. Well, surely the referee should not have allowed that, because that's kind of dangerous for both parties. For the player wearing the jewellery could get it pulled off, or it could get jabbed into somebody else, and the sunglasses, well, who would want to play football in sunglasses? She added, the moment the player clarified they were transgender, which I previously hadn't considered, I respected her answer fully, dropped the situation and immediately shifted my focus back to the game before seeking guidance from the referee. At no point was my question meant to be hurtful or malicious, as I only intended to seek clarity on an unfamiliar situation. Knowing now that the player was transgender, I understand that there were better ways to approach the question. She said she was then accosted during the drinks break by the opposition captain, who told her she should not have an issue with playing a trans opponent. She added, I raised a concern about the risk of serious injury as a 17-year-old girl playing against a biological male who was much larger than me and very physical player, which possibly a safety issue, as I did not want to get dangerously injured right before the start of the season. Despite this, I made it clear that if the player met the eligibility criteria of the FA, I would respect the rules and accept the risk involved in continuing to play the match. My safeguarding officer and the referee were both present for this conversation. She said she was truly disheartened that these allegations have been made against me, stressing, I have always supported and respected the diversity within my team, including members who are in the LGBTQIA. I've got a new one, eh? What does that mean? Plus community. The girl's mother said none of her daughter's teammates had been approached to make statements ahead of the upcoming hearing, but that they were 100% behind her. The FA decided against publishing written reasons for the case. There you are. Right? The FA, now that was November, and I think they were wrong then, right? But even more so now after the Supreme Court hearing. You've really got to consider, again, when the minority want to do something, as in guys playing in women's football, you listen to that. But if it affects the majority, i.e. the non-transgender people in women's football, right, it affects them, then you kind of got to say, look, sorry, we can't help you in this instance, because this amount of people want to play football in a different sex, but this amount of people could get quite badly injured, right? There's a guy running about with sunglasses, jewellery and a beard playing football. It's kind of not on, right? So let's cut the nonsense Let's get a bit of common sense back in the room and the big boy pants on. Right, and say, no, you're not playing. You're a geezer. All right? Don't have trans women playing in female sports. It's dangerous and it's ridiculous. And this person is a young girl who looks as if, sounds as if she could be autistic. Let's help them in football, right? Quite near dear to my own situation as autistic kids. So let's just have a wee bit of equality for them. That would be nice. Autistic people ask loads of questions. One of them's been banned for 6 games for asking questions. So if you want this video to be seen far and wide, do the following 3 things, 1, 2 or 3 of them please. Click the like button, put some comments below and hit share. If you've not already done so, please consider hitting the subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell. We've also got a members section which you can join the channel for a small monthly fee, and you get some extra content and sneak previews and things like that. But most important of all, unless you're a bearded guy with jewellery and sunglasses that wants to take part in a women's, young girls, pre-season friendly, no you. But
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.